The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 108.
108.
What is our topic today?
This is Intro to Tarot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fun. I like these.
I love tarot. Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, before we hop into this episode, do you have anything you want to share from last week?
I do. Last week we did the psychic readings and stuff, right?
Fun.
Yes, I always like those. Excuse me. So Christy had a reading on the show, and she was the one that it was a love reading, and I saw future husband, tall, thin, dark-haired man with a baby on his side.
Yeah.
That's her reading, so I'm going to read her feedback.
Okay.
She says, "Hi guys, I have just listened to this week's podcast. Thank you so much for doing a reading for me. You were spot on about pretty much everything you said. It literally felt like you were in my head and saying everything that I knew but didn't want to admit to myself. I'm single and have been for 6 years, and it's really started to get to me a lot lately. I wouldn't say I pretend to be someone I'm not, but I find it very hard to open up because every guy I date always ends up the same way, so I'm always scared of getting emotionally invested, which in return I don't show all of me. It's like on repeat, and I know this is something I need to work on, but I'm not sure how to do that. The vision you had of this future guy is interesting. I've never really wanted kids, so interesting that you saw that. I also have a Labrador, which is similar to the dog you described. I also just want to say a huge thank you for your amazing podcast. I discovered your podcast during COVID in a very tough time, and as like many others, I had no job. You have opened my eyes to so many things I have never thought about, and it made me see the world in a completely different way." Thank you, Christy.
Yeah, thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
For your participation.
Yeah, and for your very sweet comments.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit back and forth, and, you know, the guy with the baby on his side, it could be that she's going to have a baby, you know, or it could be that he already has one, but if that's the case, it'll probably be a really, really young one. So I told her to please keep us updated, because I love to hear the follow-ups on this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tough. I mean, you know, especially for someone like her that, you know, might be feeling like the relationships are all ending the same way. Yeah. You kind of have to take a look at that. And that vision might be sharing, you know, with her.
Right. What's
down the road potentially for her if she pays attention to what's going on now.
Yes.
You know, why are these all kind of happening? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's yeah, it can be the other person's fault too, but you got to look at yourself and say, what am I bringing to the table also, you know, that may be causing some of that. So, but I have no doubt that your vision is correct, that's there kind of waiting for her when the time is right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you really never wanted children yourself per se.
Right.
Also.
And I got one through marriage. Yeah.
Your opinions may be varied from time to time in life with that a little bit. Like sometimes you wished, or thought, did I make a wrong choice by not wanting to have one?
Right.
But then you ended up being able to have that experience anyway.
Right, exactly. It
so
all works out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And something else, too, to think about, because what I was trying to get across to her in that wasn't that she was trying to be somebody that she's not, as much as like what she said, that she has to open up. And the thing is that the right person will love you no matter what. And so if you open up about things or you show that you're somebody, you know, and that person doesn't like it, then that's not the person for you. And that's happening for a reason, because the right person will be the right person. And that's scary to think about, because nobody wants to go through breakups or go through multiple relationships. But every relationship that you're in teaches you something different, and it moves you closer to finding that right person. Mm-hmm. So never discount those relationships as well, the ones that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Christy. Thank you,
Thanks
Christy.
again.
And then I did Samantha as well. She was having problems in her marriage, and I didn't take a screenshot of what she said, but basically it was that I validated everything that she was feeling.
Nice.
And I hate that because it wasn't a great reading, but at the same time, I'm hoping that that's going to help her to be able to move on a little bit and be happier in her life.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you luck.
Yes,
Samantha.
we do. That we do. And then last week, I had mentioned that we were going to start something new this week, and that was that we were going to answer a question every week from a listener. And that I don't know if I said this, but maybe I did, that the listener's question that we chose, that we would send them some free show merch.
Oh, cool.
So it's our first week, so we have 2 questions that we're going to answer.
All right.
The first one is from Chelsea. She says, can you tell us a funny experience you've had with a random spirit? Something that was awkward or caught you off guard, etc., but you thought was so funny. And you know what's funny about this question is that, like, random things come to me all the time, and I'll just, like, talk about them. But when you're put on the spot to think about funny things, it's really hard to, you know. I had told this story before, but I'll tell it again because, you know, we may have listeners that are new to the show. But when I first learned about my abilities, I was still pet sitting, and I walked into a client's home whose son had passed away. I think he committed suicide. And when I walked into the home, he said to me, the very first thing was, aren't you scared? And I said, no, why would I be scared? And he said, because the house is haunted. And I said, there's no such thing as a haunted house. And I went to flip on the light switch, and you know how the bulbs, when they're done, sometimes they go, pff.
Right.
That's what that one, it did.
Right.
And I just heard him laughing. And it scared me for a second, you know, and then I was like, okay, I get it. It's one of those things, like, you know, when you're a kid and you want to get from, like, your bed to the bathroom without the monster under your bed catching you. Sometimes I get those feelings when the spirit comes in. It's overwhelming, and then I have to remind myself they're not going to hurt you. They're not going to do anything, you know, to hurt you. And that's kind of what happened in this instance. Was I was like ready to flight, you know, ready to go, and I
wasn't sure at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's a good one.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're small. I feel like. I was telling you this earlier, like when I'm in a stinking thinking kind of place or just negative, that I'll see some sign or something comes on, like a song or a name comes out of the person that's on my mind or a situation, and it's usually some sort of sign to show me a more positive way. And I'll chuckle kind of like, God, man, you got me.
Yep.
But I will say the one time is the thing we went to in Hollywood. What was it called?
The Magic Bus. Yeah.
Yeah. When the guy brought us into that room or like pointed to your mom's name.
Pointed to my mom's name randomly.
And you just said, oh, that's my mom's name. And they didn't talk.
Yeah.
But he looked at it and pointed and was like, kind of like, I know.
He started shaking his head like, yeah, and his body language was totally like, yeah, I know. Hello, that's why I took you to it.
That was hysterical.
That was really funny, and one of the weirder things that's happened. We have weird things that happen to us all the time. Sometimes it's comical in the car with the music that comes on. Like, they'll give us songs that is obviously trying to, like, poke at a situation or whatever. There was one day that I got in the car, I remember, this was a while back, and I said, okay, I'm only going to be in the car for a few minutes. Is there anything that you would like me to know? And the song that came on was a mom song. It was Rockwell, Someone's Watching Me. You know, I always feel like someone's watching me, and I was like, okay. Well, it was a mom song because I used to sing that song in the car when I was little, and she thought that for whatever reason it was hysterical that I sang that song.
Yeah.
And so that was her song, and one of her songs, but when it came on, it was like they were telling me, we see you, we're watching. And, it's kind of funny because if you think about it, they are always watching.
And then our guest spirit the other week, Agnes. That was pretty
funny.
Damn funny.
Yeah, Agnes was funny. They really, spirits are funny. It usually ends with something that's comforting too, whatever it is that they're doing or saying that's funny. I need to start writing this stuff down because I know in my readings I get a lot of stuff, but unless I tell you or talk about it on the show, it goes away. I forget my readings.
Yeah, we're getting old.
Yeah, well, that too, yeah. But my readings I don't really remember because can you imagine how much space that would take up in my head? So I actually appreciate that I don't remember them. So,
cool.
But yeah, there's a few things for you, Chelsea.
That was a good question.
Yeah, and then the other one is from Bob. And Bob asked, how often do you talk to your mother? And that's a funny question in itself because every day multiple times a day. Sometimes it's all day. I'm not like, I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes it's just like she's there, just like Danny's there.
Right.
Like she's talking to me the same way he's talking to me, and I'm having a conversation with her just the same way I would you. And sometimes I'll tell you that, and I tell you know what she's talking about. Sometimes she just throws random stuff at me. The other day, goes along with Chelsea's funny story question. I had bought a bunch of like summer dresses, and there was one that was kind of big, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to buy it or not, or send it back. And I heard my mom call me a hausfrau. You look like a hausfrau in that dress, because what that means is that's in Dutch. It's a Dutch term for like a housewife, but like a frumpy kind of doesn't take care of herself, sits around. And my mom always said, I'm gonna be a hausfrau for the rest of my life. That's all, when she was alive. So it was kind of funny, but yeah, she talks to me all day. Oh, yeah. If I'm having a bad day, sometimes it won't be as often. I actually have songs for that too. Hall & Oates. Oh God, what's the name of that song? Out of Touch is one of those that I'll hear if I'm not listening to her or I'm not paying attention. Right. So it's really just like, for me, it's like having her here with me all the time. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Pretty much.
I think you noticed
she talks to me too.
Yeah. It's like having the mother-in-law there all the time.
Yeah.
The mother-in-law you never met in person either.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Oma was a big part of my life too, Carla. You know? So having both of them,
yes,
it's rather amazing.
Yeah, that's Danny's ex-mother-in-law, and my ex-mother-in-law and my grandmother are around a lot.
Yeah. The
women, they do that. They tend to really nurture. My dad's around a lot too, and my grandfather's been doing some weird stuff lately. Like I'm seeing random visions of things that I totally forgot about when I was a kid. So, like, these spirits are getting much, much stronger. My abilities are getting much stronger. And as they are, it really is like all of these people are around us. It's very crazy. It's cool.
It is. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. So I hope that answers your questions, Chelsea and Bob. And we appreciate those. Guys. And we will get your free merch out to you as soon as I find the box. Because we moved and I don't remember what box I put the merch in. But there's not that many boxes left unpacked, so it has to be somewhere. So I'll find it. As soon as I do, we'll send you your stuff.
Cool.
Okay, so there we have it.
All right.
Now we can move on.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So episode 108, Intro to Tarot.
Intro to Tarot. This is a great follow-up, too, to last week, if you think about it, because the psychic work is really about past, present, future, love, career, family, those types of things, which is exactly what tarot touches on. So it's a great follow-up. It took me half the week to come up with this. I was like, we need a topic, and I can't come up with one. And then finally it hit me in the shower.
Great.
I do want to give a disclaimer that I am not a tarot reader. Do I use tarot cards as a tool in my readings? Yes. Only in my psychic readings. Not all the time. When I worked for Kasamba, I did. I used them for every reading because they allow me to get in really quickly. But when I'm just doing normal readings, I don't usually use them unless I need some extra insight. We have come to discover that tarot cards are extremely accurate.
Oh, yeah.
They are more accurate than me, the psychic.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Yeah. I actually predicted the election results based on tarot cards. I asked to show me the winner, and I asked to show me the loser because I figured that if they were both right, then I would know. And with Biden being the winner came up, and it showed a family man, generous, down to earth. It showed his wife being a teacher, because these are parts of the cards. They have these actual things in there. And then with Trump, it showed anger, and it was just really strong anger, even in a wife that, it showed all these things. So they are so accurate.
Yeah.
So first, though, what are tarot cards? If you don't know. Tarot cards are a form of fortune telling where practitioners use cards to gain insight into past, present, and future. The standard tarot deck has 78 cards. It's divided into two main groups, the major and minor arcana. There are 22 cards in the major arcana, and these are the ones like we think about, we see mostly, like if you see tarot stuff in stores or whatever, you see the sun, the moon, the world, death, the devil, the tower.
Star.
Yes, they're all, we'll go over a list, but all of those are your minor arcana. And then there are 56 minor arcana cards. And the minor arcana have four...
But the ones you just read were major, right?
Yes, those were major.
Okay.
So the minor arcana are the suits. And this is similar to playing cards. There's 4 suits. They all actually do have an equal representation on regular cards. So if you don't have tarot cards, you can use regular playing cards for this. But those suits in the tarot cards are wands, swords, pentacles, and cups. And they each represent different things. So a little bit of history on tarot cards. They started using these in the mid-15th century in various parts of Europe. And then the cards started evolving into what we use today in the late 1800s. In Europe in the 18th century, tarot was one of the most popular games, and they weren't looked at as occult products at all then. No. Some people look at them as devil's work.
Right, black magic. It's not.
Not at all. But I can see how, if you don't understand them, it could look like that. You have to understand how to use them, what they're about, and all that. And then, they're very eye-opening.
Yeah.
In 1909, tarot cards received a major update with the Rider-Waite deck, which is the one I have here. This is the most commonly used cards and easiest to read. They were updated in the 1970s and included a new book in the 1970s as well. And that's kind of when it became known as an occult product, is in the 70s.
Right.
And people started tripping on it like they were the Ouija boards. And it's just dumb.
Yeah.
Some key points about tarot cards. First, like I said, they are highly accurate. So you have to trust and believe that what these cards are telling you is accurate and apply it to your life. Because like a lot of times, okay, so these come with books, and I have a couple of other books here. We're going to do some sample readings at the end. But the books kind of say different things, and some of them go on and on and on, and some of them are really short. And you have to take from these things how to apply it to your life. Because everything that this tarot card says may not apply to your life. They are difficult to learn to read. Okay, they're not difficult, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I have been working on that for 3 years, and I am not a tarot reader.
Right.
But they are a lot of fun to work with, too.
Yeah.
They are a tool to use along with psychic abilities. However, you don't have to have psychic abilities to use them. You can shuffle the deck, the cards come out, and then you look in the book, and it'll tell you what they are. There's a couple of there's probably lots of different methods of shuffling tarot decks. But the one that I use is I shuffle where I don't, pick them. They come flying out of the deck, and I use those.
Yeah, that was the part that I, in the process, because at first... you used to just fan them out like a typical deck face down.
Yeah.
And pull from there. And you were pretty darn accurate.
Yeah.
There. Then that started where you were just kind of shuffling them in your hand, sort of throwing them from one hand to the palm of the other.
Right.
And every now and then one would fly out.
Right.
And at first I thought that was silly. But then the more I watched, I was like, oh my God.
Unbelievable.
It's unreal. And then we started working with Amy.
Yes,
and
beloved one tarot.
Yeah, yep. Getting readings from her, and she knows tarot really well.
Yes, she's an energy and tarot reader. Yes.
So she can just look at a card and tell you exactly what it means, blah, blah, blah. But she does the same thing, because in a couple readings with her, she's like, oh, I was shuffling and one just jumped right out, and it's on the money.
Nisha too, yeah.
So there is something to that.
Yes, they're very highly accurate.
And that's, to me, is incredible, that their energy can get in the way of you shuffling and make a particular card fly out that they want to talk about.
How does that work?
That is, excuse my French, fucking incredible.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
It's
because
just
sometimes
incredible.
I feel it sometimes too, like the flick of the card that comes out, and I'm like, whoa. And what really gets me is when, I'll draw cards for myself or for us or whatever, and I'll put the cards back in and I shuffle them and the same card comes out. Right. And I had that happen so many times. That's how I usually will really know that something is really
when the same
accurate.
one flies out.
Right, and it's
after.
a trip. Yeah, it's a trip.
And there's no way, because you stuff it in and shuffle it around and it just, boop.
And when I first started reading tarot, I got a little skeptical, I'll be honest, because I started thinking, all these cards have the same meanings. Well, no, they don't. They all have very, very different meanings, but we were always getting the same cards is what was happening.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, why are we always getting the same cards? They all mean the same thing. No, what they were doing was like they were taking two cards that were similar and kind of like changing them around so that it was similar cards, same meaning. Because that's what was going to happen. You know, I very rarely see certain cards in the deck when they come up. Like the Tower. The Tower's a major arcana, and it usually means something, just prepare yourself because something's coming.
Right.
When I see that card, I want to crawl under a table. But it's not all big like that. Like there was one day that I was shuffling and the Tower came flying out, and I was like, oh, great, here we go. And then I drew another card on it, and it was like a page card, which is usually like a teenager or whatever. And I stopped there because I just figured it was our teenager and there was going to be something that was going to happen. Actually, it ended up being a school shooting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a big, I don't remember which one, but it was a big school shooting. So those things, like, they can scare you and make you think that maybe, you know, something's going to happen that's not. And so you have to be careful, too, with how you read them and how you interpret them. It's much easier for me to read and interpret tarot cards for other people than it is for myself because I tend to look too deep into them when I look at them myself.
Right.
You know?
Well, you know, and for doubters, whatever. Yeah, many years ago, I might have been like, yeah, whatever. You know, that's like the back of the in the newspaper would have like the general horoscope for each sign every day. And, you know, my attitude then would have been, well, of course, you know, you can read into anything and apply it to your life. Well, yeah.
Right.
That's the idea.
Right.
Dummy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm supposed to apply this to my own life. You know what is also magical about it is that one short little message can apply to thousands, if not millions of people's lives if they would stop thinking within the box, right?
That's right, yeah.
So when you hear a message, even if it's as simple or general as something as a particular tarot card or a, you know, astrological forecast in a newspaper. I'm not saying it's always spot on, but I could always usually apply it to something that was happening for me at the time.
Absolutely.
And then I have to think, well, how many other people opened up that paper and saw that and felt the same way? There's something that's incredible about that. Right. So the fact that they can convey messages through a card.
Oh, yeah.
And not just that, because even when you would fan them out and face down, you would pick the same card over again. Yeah. It's like they're being, after you've shuffled it. Yeah. And then fanned it again, they're being insistent. Yes. And a lot of times I've noticed when I've asked you questions or asked you to draw cards for me, they sometimes won't even go to the topic that I want to discuss. They go to the topic that they feel needs to be discussed.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. They do what they feel that they should do.
They do what they want.
Right. They do what they want. I didn't want to put it that way, but they do. They do what they want. And I understand because a lot of times that's what we need. Yeah. You know, if we want to talk about something, but there's something more important that we need to be working on. And so that's definitely where the cards, for sure. One of the reasons that I picked the way that I shuffle as opposed to laying them flat out like I did it at the beginning is because I was second guessed myself. And you do it too. I see you sometimes put cards out and you sit there and you look at them and you stare at them and it's like, no, you're thinking too hard. So this way, I don't. Sometimes I will use both methods as validation. I will also use multiple different decks of cards to validate. So like I have in front of me, like, okay, there's three different tarot decks here, okay? So I have the Rider-Waite deck, and then I have a very basic deck that's just very, very basic pictures, and then I have a new one that I just got, right? So I might ask the same question to two different decks and see what comes up. And they are just spot on accurate. Always spot on.
Cool.
Yesterday, or was it the
I like the Rider for some reason. I just love that old world kind of look to them, and they are sort of simplistic.
Yeah, every card tells a story. And the more that you look at the card, the more that you can see the story within it.
Yes.
And so that's why the detail is so nice. And the Rider-Waite deck, which is the one that I usually use for you and in my readings, it has very graphic pictures. But if you take this deck, this is called OK Tarot, the simple deck for everyone. This deck confuses me. I just got this. Not just, but maybe a few months ago, and I've only used it a few times. But do you see how simplistic it is?
Hey.
It's basically like I just pulled out the 9 of Cups.
I was going to say, that's like 9 cups.
It's 9 cups.
Yeah.
It's just a drawing of 9 cups.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because I'm used to looking at
the background more and other things going on the Rider deck.
I don't necessarily know what the 9 of Cups is.
Right.
Again, I'm not a tarot reader. A good tarot reader could tell you without the pictures. But we're doing intro to tarot here.
Right.
We're, not teaching, just explaining. So with a deck like this, with the simple deck, it's very basic. So I think that the easiest deck and the best deck to learn on is the Rider-Waite deck.
Yeah.
And there's one called the Radiant Rider-Waite. And I have the book here too. Let me get the book out so I can give you info. Okay, so this is called Exploring Tarot Using Rider-Waite. And this book, I love this book. It came in a set with the cards and the book. And it gets into every card and it explains, different meanings. You can also, when you draw cards, you can look at them upside or reversed. Okay, so you may have, like, right in front of me right now, I have the World came up upright, and the Page of Cups was upside down. It was reversed. So I could go in the book and I could look up the World right side up, and then the Page of Cups reversed. Or I don't do it that way because I get confused. Really where I am in my tarot journey is I don't do them reversed. I just do upright. When I'm shuffling them, I have very specific rules that I think is helpful. You can set your rules, because it really is the other side that's doing the work here. You're just shuffling and interpreting. So I say before my readings, what I say is, okay, I want these cards. Their meanings are going to be upright, not reversed. They're all upright. And when the card comes out of the deck, it has to be upright. So if it's upside down, like if I'm seeing the back side of the card, I won't take that card. I'll put it back in the deck. It has to be upright. Because there are some times where like 10 cards will come flying out. And if there's a lot of like face up cards, like let's say that I do that and there's a lot of face up cards, I might put them all back in the deck and shuffle again. But remember what was upright. And if it comes up again, then I know that it was meant. Yeah, right. Exactly. So you can set your own kinds of ways of doing these cards. With a professional tarot reader, they do all kinds of spreads. They have like the Celtic spread. They have all kinds of different things they do. I know nothing about that. I didn't get into that in this episode because I thought that was going a little bit too deep. But that is what they do. And in that, there's different ways that they can look at what's going on. One of the basic layouts is like a past, present, future. And I will use that, where the first card that you draw is the past, and then the next is present, and the next is future. And that's a very accurate way of reading.
Right.
And that's also something that you can set the rule with. Like if you're shuffling the cards and you say, okay, the first card is going to be the past, because you might get 3 cards that come out and you're like, well, wait, which one is which?
Right.
But usually it'll make sense.
You have to be asking that.
Exactly.
You're setting an intention and asking a specific question.
Exactly. Usually it will make sense to you. Like if you see the 3 cards and then, you're like, okay, well, this makes sense for the past and whatever. So let's see. Okay, let me tell you first a little bit more about the Major Arcana. Okay, so the Major Arcana has 22 cards. They're numbered 0 to 21. These cards show us experiences, lessons, karmic influences, and the larger things in life. If you're getting a lot of Major Arcana cards coming up, then there's major things happening in your life. These are significant and they're to be paid attention to. The Major Arcana, let's see, the list of the Major Arcana is the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Justice, Hanged Man, Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, and the World. And that's an order of how they are. Okay, so let's look at a couple of them real quick. Let's just pull out, we already talked a little bit about the Tower. Let's look at Death, because Death is one of the most misunderstood cards in this deck.
Yeah.
Let me open my book to the Death card, but I'll tell you that Death is about rebirth. It's about getting rid of the old, moving on from the old and bringing into the good. Where are my major arcana in here? You can also, with tarot cards, they play off of each other. And I don't know anything about that, so I don't read my tarot cards like that. But like Death coming up with the Lovers might mean the death of a relationship. That's just a real easy one that I could throw out there. But there's a lot of different meanings there. So, but it's never, I don't think it's ever really as bad as what we think it is. You know what I mean? Let's see. This Death is, what number? Okay, we're almost there. I just want to read this so that you have a little bit of an idea of what a book says for Death. Okay, so this says, our only guarantee in life is change. Endings are inevitable. The trick is to lay ourselves bare to loss. Doing so will make transitions easier and allow new opportunities to enter our life. And then it breaks it down in this book as well into love, money, career, and family. So let's take a look at money, because this is one that people talk about a lot. Mm-hmm. Your relationship with money is unhealthy. Explore other sources of value that do not diminish, like love or spiritual wealth. This is just one book, too. There's so many meanings, but that's why I find it easy when I have a book like this and I am learning about tarot to use these types of books. It's just so much easier. But that's a good example of Death.
It's a lot of information to memorize, and it's so cool to have it at your fingertips right there.
Yeah. But if I were to pull like the Death card for myself, then I would know that something's ending. What it is. I don't know. Then you pick a follow-up card to see what it is. But there's always meaning to these cards when they come up, always. So let's see. Okay. When the major arcana comes up in your reading, you are called to examine and reflect on the current situations relating to these cards. So that's the major arcana for you.
Cool.
And now the minor arcana. So we talked about that there's 4 different suits, just like in a playing deck. Those are Wands, Cups, Swords, and Pentacles. Each one is represented by a different element, and each one represents something like something different. Okay, so for example, Pentacles, when I see Pentacles, that represents money, material wealth, those types of things to me. Wands is a fire element, and that's more about like the creativity side. Cups is the element of water, and that's emotions and like love relationships. Swords, people get nervous when they see swords come up, because these are usually like different problems or like logical ideas, communication. But a lot of those cards tend to tell you where your areas of change need to be, and they could be scary.
Right.
Pentacles, like I said, material, wealth, money, and that is the earth element. So let's see. So I have a little example that I did earlier that I just drew 3 cards for money as an example. I wasn't doing this for myself. So like for the past, I pulled the 5 of Pentacles, and the 5 of Pentacles has a couple holding hands, and they're in front of a stained glass window, and they're very poor. You can tell by looking that they're very poor at this picture. That is what I call the poverty card. It's a struggle, bad relationships with money. Okay. Then I pulled the present card, and that was the 3 of Wands, which is detaching from the situation. So that shows you at the present that you should detach from this problem that you have with money. And if you do that, then what is the future? And then for that, I pulled the Ace of Pentacles. And Ace of Pentacles, aces are always good. They're new ideas. They're always great to see come up in a reading. That's about stability and prosperity, even some kind of gift. So you can see how, like, if you were drawing cards for yourself and you were having money issues and you asked for a past, present, future, you would know what they were, because that wouldn't make sense laid out any other way. Right. If you didn't have money before, that wouldn't come as your past. So you have to kind of work with it and see how they go together, those things. Okay. So how much time we have? Okay, so we have some listener questions, and then I'll do a couple of sample readings.
Cool.
Okay, so the first question was, how do they work? And I think we covered a lot of that, but in all honesty, we don't really know how they work as far as, like, how the cards come flying out of the deck.
Right.
It's your intuition when you're, like, picking from them. That's your intuition. But, I mean, in all honesty, it's still kind of a mystery to me how they work.
It's a good way to exercise the intuition.
Oh, yeah.
For sure, because if you can pick cards that are mirroring what's going on in your life, then I think you go, oh, okay, I'm working, that intuition thing's working.
Yeah.
So I think these things are a total tool. Why would they have been around for centuries?
Right,
You know, it's like they're a total tool.
I consider them to be a tool for people that don't have that connection to the other side.
Exactly.
Or the psychic abilities. I mean, I'm not saying that tarot readers don't, because I think that the more you work with this, like, even if you're not psychic and you start working with these, I think you'll bring in those psychic abilities.
Yeah.
Because really anybody can do it, really. So I think that answered that question, yeah?
Yeah.
Can you do readings for yourself? We've kind of answered that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Yes, you can, but I will tell you that I had to stop for a while. At the very beginning of when I was reading tarot, I was getting very confused. It was stressing me out. I would see a card that would come up, kind of like how I explained the tower and then the page. Those types of things would stress me out all day. I had to stop, and I had to reevaluate my relationship with the tarot cards. So don't be afraid, you know, if that's something like that's happening, if they give you anxiety, just put them down for a little while, or use them for other people. That's a great way too, because if you're using them for other people, then you see actually what the cards mean, and maybe that won't scare you as much.
Right.
But
yeah, because sometimes when it is hard to maybe decipher for yourself.
Yes.
But that, again, takes a little bit more of, you know, looking inward, I think.
Absolutely, it does. And there's a lot of times too that I'll pull cards for myself and I'll be like, well, not anymore. I used to do this. No. That's not going to happen. Those aren't for me. Now I know, and I'm like, like if the tower comes up, I'm like, okay, well, I know it's for me, so why don't you just tell me what it's about? It's, you know, it all is just kind of learning and trial and error, and yeah. How often should one get a reading? You know, I don't know if there's really a good answer to that question. I think it's very personal. I used to draw cards for myself every morning. It's how I learned how to read tarot better. But that's me. I'm a psychic. For the average person, I would say I wouldn't do it too often. Maybe once a month would be probably the most, you know, give yourself a chance to get caught up, because also if you're like bouncing from psychic to psychic, that can get really confusing, because like they all usually have a different kind of, you know, they may be telling you the same thing, but the approach might be different or whatever. Right. So I don't know that there's an answer to that.
Sometimes I think you need to step away and let the grass grow a little bit before you can see a difference.
Exactly.
So if you do a reading for yourself and then you do it the next day or the following day, you know, you're not stepping back enough to see anything change to know if the next reading is accurate as the first, if that makes sense.
As far as like going to a psychic, to a tarot reader, I mean, that's totally personal preference. I have clients that come to me every week, once or twice a week, for tarot readings. But I would, you know, for the average person, maybe once a month check-in is good. I talk to Amy usually like once a month or once every 2 months, because even the psychic needs psychic reading. Sure. You know. Okay, next question. What would make a person's reading change from day to day? Well, it depends. Okay, so when you're doing a reading, you may only be talking about one topic. You may only be talking about one small thing. So usually the readings won't change from day to day. They might just be a different topic. But like if you pull cards, like let's say that you are dating somebody, okay, and you want to know if their relationship's going to work out. And one day you pull cards and it says yes, and the next you pull no, and then the next is yes, and the next is no. It can get very confusing. But there is always a way of interpreting them that maybe you're interpreting it wrong, and the no's aren't actually no's. Or if you're doing these readings for yourself, you know, you're just not connected enough. If you were to go to the same tarot reader they'll probably tell you the same thing. Like I said, with Amy, she says a lot of the same things to me. She's very highly accurate. So it's just kind of a refresher. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't know if really from day to day that much does change in tarot readings, you know?
And again, it's what you're asking too.
Exactly, because there are so many things that they can touch on. And like Danny said earlier, the question that you ask may not necessarily be what they want to talk about. So
yeah,
may just be exploring a different thing. But I would say that if you are having, different tarot readings every day, if you're doing them for yourself, that maybe you're just interpreting them wrong or not connected enough would be my thing there.
Yeah.
If you're getting different ones from different psychics every day, it's probably because they're different psychics.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
Let's see. And the last question, how do you cleanse cards and keep yourself safe while using them? This is a great question, and Nisha asked this question. And she asked this question so that I would talk about it. So, I'm a really basic psychic. I don't like to perform a lot of rituals. I don't knock on my cards. I don't sage them. I don't really do anything like that because I don't personally believe it makes a difference. And I know that may sound weird, but I believe that it doesn't make a difference.
Right.
So if you knock on your cards and you believe that that clears them, then it does. If you sage your cards because you believe that that clears them, then it does.
Right.
These are areas that I test a lot. I don't talk about it a lot, but I test it because I want to know how much I believe what is actually the truth.
Yeah.
I do believe that saging your home and what do they call it? De-energizing your home is actually very, very good. And maybe, clearing your crystals because they hold energy. But the tarot cards, they're my energy. Nobody else really handles my cards except for me and sometimes you,
right.
Danny. So I don't really worry about that. If other people were handling them and maybe putting their energy into it, then I might do more of a cleaning ritual. But for me, I'm just like, these are my cards. Again, it's very, very personal of what you think is good for you. As far as keeping yourself safe, this is energy. And so I'm trying to find a good way to put this because I know that there's a lot of people.
Safe from
that's
tarot cards?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're keeping yourself safe from the energy. Mm-hmm. The cards are just cards. They're just delivering the message. Mm-hmm. You're keeping yourself, and this is coming in intuitively from the other side. You're keeping yourself, you're protected because there's nothing going on with the cards. They're just cards. Okay. They're just cards. You're pulling them. If you're pulling them for other people and it's their energy, you're picking up their energy. So it's yourself that you need to cleanse, not the cards. I don't believe in negative entities. I believe that there are earthbound spirits that might stay here for a few days after they die because they're confused, but I do not believe in bad spirits. I don't believe that I need to clear my cards or anything like that to eliminate bad spirits from it. But some people do. Mm-hmm. So everybody's different. Yeah. And you just have to kind of go with what makes you feel good. But as far as like the question of how do you keep yourself safe? And I know this is an area that Nisha and I differ on. I don't find it necessary to protect myself from cards, just the energy from other people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I agree with that. I feel like we are in I hate to say this, the word simulation because it's so much more organic than that. But you're walking around in a realm of perception.
Yes, absolutely.
It's what you perceive.
Mm-hmm. I have come to realize this. 100%, you can guide your life. You can make it happen the way you want it to with belief. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll give you an example. Our daughter spent the night at a friend's house the other night, okay? And we thought she was going to be there for probably like 24 hours, okay? Then all of a sudden she tells us that, can you take us to Hollywood? Totally ruined my plans for a nice, quiet Saturday, right? So I'm trying to manifest a way out. Maybe one of the other parents can take them or whatever it is, right? Well, there was no manifesting my way out of this.
No.
But I did end up with the same result that I originally wanted because she stayed at her friend's house for a while and we got some more, alone time, which is what we needed. So it worked out the way I wanted it to, but maybe not exactly the way that I was trying to manifest it, if that makes sense.
Right.
So that's just an example there. So how much time do I have? I have time.
Yeah.
Very good. Oh, one other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is oracle cards, because the oracle cards are very different. I'm going to do a reading with one set of oracle cards, but what they are is they're more broad topics. Okay. Every set is different. The one that I'm going to use today is called Moonology, and it's all pictures of the moon in different cycles, and each each phase of the moon represents something else according to the person that made this deck.
Right.
Okay. So the creator of this deck is the one that set the meanings for it. I have a really cool Alice in Wonderland deck that is the same way. It has really interesting descriptions on it. Their oracle cards are great because they get deeper into a situation. Like I have one that's a self-care deck, and if I need to know like what area I should work on, this deck will tell me like go outside in nature or take a
they're
bath.
kind of affirmation-ish to me.
Exactly. So
like 'em.
Very different, yeah.
You can't necessarily ask, well, I don't know if you can, but questions like you would the Rider-Waite deck.
That's very true. It's because they're different. Like like I said, I'm gonna use the Moonology deck, so I'll show you. But your questions have to be more related to the deck. So if I'm gonna use a certain deck of oracle cards with somebody, I'm going to specifically know that deck and know how to use it and what questions to ask. I'm not going to go to this Moonology deck and ask, when is my, whatever going to be coming along, because that's not going to come up in this deck or any of the other oracle decks, where the tarot cards can tell you dates with the numbers. We didn't get into that, but each one represents a different month, different year. So Amy's really good with that. She tells us, like, we knew we were going to move. Everything was going to be done by, like, May.
Yeah.
She told us all of that. So tarot readers are very good into that. Okay, so let's do a couple of readings. But that's oracle cards just briefly. But I want to get to these readings. We have a listener that joined our group today and that submitted a reading for a tarot reading, and I just wanted to welcome her. Her name is Jen.
Welcome, Jen.
Yes, welcome, Jen. And she posted a picture of herself with a Great Pyrenees puppy. Oh. Isn't cute? And so I told her that her puppy was very cute, and she said that he's Great Pyrenees, and then she said, and I have to tell you, I listen to your podcast every Monday morning on my drive to work. It's turned into a wonderful way to start the week for me. Very grateful for you and Danny. Peace and love.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, and you know
Same
what?
to you.
We used to release our episodes on Friday. And then I got this message that we should release them on Sunday, because then when people go to work on Monday, it's a great way to start their week and they can listen to it on the way to work. And she just validated that that's what's happening.
Killer.
So anyways, let's do a reading for Jen. She said career or love. So I've never done a tarot reading on the show, and the cards fly sometimes. So I'm hoping that this won't.
I'll be the fetcher.
Thank you. Okay, so what I do is I look at a picture of the person, and then I ask the deck, what do you want to talk about as far as career and love goes? What should she know, and what subject? I'm going to let the deck pick the subject. This is a love reading right here. Okay. So again, because she's not here to validate, I'm just going to tell you what I see in the cards, and I'm not a tarot reader, like I said. But the cards that came up for you, and like I said, this is a love reading. The Five of Cups, which when I look at the Five of Cups, this is like a depression, but coming to an end. There's 3 cups that are spilt, but 2 that are face up. And so that kind of tells me that you're feeling like, you have options, but maybe not. Like things have gone bad in the past, but you're still seeing that they could be positive in the future, but you need to kind of let go of the past in order to move on. Let go of those 3 cups that have spilt and move on with the 2 that are still standing. Now, what I just did is I used my intuition to see what this card meant for her.
Right.
Because, like I said, I'm not a tarot reader. I do see a king. The King of Wands. I am not good with the court cards. These are ones that I have to look up every time. So I'm going to look up this for you so that we can see what it says about this King of Wands that's coming along for you. because they can be very specific on this. Okay, King of Wands. This is a king of fire and inspiration. In a reading, this card indicates you are passionate about being a leader. So this is describing the man. Okay, this is describing the person, whether you're with them or not. This will give you an idea of what this person is like. You don't let little things like distractions or setbacks cloud your vision. People look up to you because of your enthusiasm and powerful influence. Your charisma is infectious and you're natural at coaching others. Your kindness and protection and support for other people makes you well loved and respected. This is a big source of self-worth. You take great pride in being an appreciated member of your community. So, I don't know if I've never talked to Jen before. I don't know if she's in a relationship. I didn't get that into these cards yet. But as far as love goes, this here, the King of Wands, that is a description of the person that either you're in a relationship with now or you will be in a relationship with. So you can see how it shows personality. And you can go online. Actually, this is great. I meant to mention this. You can go online to like Biddy Tarot, BIDDY Tarot, or I have another one too, thetarotguide.com. And you can look up this card and it will give you even more in depth. Biddy Tarot is what we used at first. And if you remember, it was long. There is so much stuff. So you can go on there and look up the King of Wands and learn more about what the King of Wands personality is like. So you know more about this person. The Six of Swords is this and going into smoother waters card. It shows a woman and a child in a boat. And the boat has swords in it, and I believe that this is supposed to represent that the boat is bringing in water, but it's still sailing anyways, which means that things are coming, the bad is behind, and you're sailing into smoother waters. Mm-hmm. So, relationship issues that you've been having, things are going to get better.
Nice.
Is what that card says. And then the Judgment card. The Judgment card is major arcana. I'm going to look at that one for you too, because that one could mean a lot of different things. And I want to make sure that, because this is our, let's see, we're almost there. So you can see, I'm not a tarot reader. If Amy was here, she would be like, yeah, I can tell you all these things. That's why this is intro to tarot. Okay, Judgment. Often the term judgment carries negative connotations, but the imagery of this card expresses positivity, freedom, and even a sense of rejoicing. Essentially, this card indicates that a revolutionary verdict has been made in your favor. The ruling comes after a period of withdrawal, depression, or seclusion, and that's the first card that we're seeing there. Mm-hmm. Okay, this book also breaks it down, like I said, love, money, career, family. So let's look at love. It says, you have been separated from a loved one for a long time. Expect to be reunited soon. So this doesn't necessarily, when I read that doesn't necessarily mean that there's somebody that
X
exactly, or somebody from your past. This could be a soul.
Yeah.
Okay. The soul is coming back into your life. So to me, pulling these 4 cards, these are the cards that flew out of the pile for you, is I'm going to go with, you are not in a relationship, that you have a lot of pain from past relationships, but that you will find somebody. You're moving into smoother waters and you're going to find somebody and you're going to live happily ever after. That's what these cards say to me.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I hope that is good for you, Jen. I'm going to take a second.
Thanks for asking.
I want to take a second with her because she's new to the group and because I really felt drawn to her when she posted. I was like, I have to do this first, and I don't know why. Okay. I think that she needs a message here, and I think you're opening your spirituality and you're starting to realize that this is bigger than anything that you ever expected that it would be. And because this is starting for you, you have all kinds of questions and I feel like you're uncertain about a lot of things. But if you need somebody, I think that's why this came up. If you need somebody, reach out because I'll be happy to help you. I do mentor work. And we can talk more, but your spirituality is growing more and more and more every day, and you're becoming more connected. And I'm excited that she's a part of the group because I think this is going to help her. So there you go for Jen.
Yeah. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks for joining.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So let's see. Let's do Cassie. Okay. Cassie asked she said, whatever comes up. So I'm going to use my Moonology deck And we'll see what comes up for her. This is the Oracle deck that I'm going to use for her. It's the one that I feel pulled to. This is great too. A personal issue reaches resolution. Cassie has been going through a lot. It's been a while since I've done a reading for her, but she's been going through a lot. And so to hear that there's a resolution coming, that is very good. So let's just really quick look at the book and see. This is, in this deck, the Moonology deck, this is the full moon in Cancer. And this says, sorry, this is really small print and it's not real bright here. Things are likely to get very heated as full moon in Cancer is super emotional sign. So there could be somewhat of an explosion or feeling around now or surrounding your question. It's important to be sensitive to other people when you pull this card. There are some very fine sensibilities around, so tread carefully as you move towards your goals and dreams. This card indicates an especially feminine time. It also heralds the time to deal with any family issues coming up. Nothing to worry about. It signals a challenge is now coming to an end. The card also suggests both that a domestic matter or a private issue will soon come to a head, and that is a great time to move house. She's already done that, actually. She's already moved. The answer to your question, the question lies in being a kind leader. This is the time for you to step up and agree to overcome your insecurities. This was a great card for her because to me it really shows that she's on the right track and she just needs to put an end to these things that have been going on in her life.
Right.
So I hope that card resonates for you. I know that card resonates for her. But that's the little bit of difference between the Oracle deck is they're different than the tarot. They hit on different things.
Yeah.
I love this Moonology deck. Chelsea
Cool.
gave this to me. Okay, what time we got here? Okay, one more real quick.
Sure.
Okay. Let's do Melissa. She asked for a career reading. You know what? I'm going to use these other ones.
College and career.
I'm going to use this simple deck. Oh, no, I'm not because I don't have the book. Well, I will anyways.
It's right there.
Oh, the pink one?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, because this deck is really simplistic, and so there's like keywords, right? So I think that this is a good one. And then you can take the words and you kind of analyze them. So let's see. Oh, things are falling. Two of Swords. So a bunch of cards just dropped on the floor and nothing was face up. So I won't take those, but I'll take this one because it was face up. And then I will pull, let's pull one more for you. I'm going to not shuffle. I'm going to
do it.
Yeah. This one's down. Ooh. Okay, so these are all swords, which is interesting. What I'm going to do is read just straight from the book so that you see how simplistic this tarot deck is. Okay, so we have the Two of Swords. This is a cool deck to just take with you if you just, like you're going read for friends or something. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Two of Swords is logical, emotional, hidden emotions. So you can see it's just really basic, right? Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to take that and go, okay, well, logical, emotional, hidden emotions. What does that mean? Well, there's a lot of emotion behind your career. Like, you don't have one, maybe, is kind of what I'm feeling. Like, there's nothing really going on, and that's depressing you. It's kind of this, but you're trying not to show it. That's what I would take from this. Okay, so let's then look at the Nine of Swords. Anxiety, obsessive thought, and fear. So this tells me that you're having a lot of worry and doubt about what's going on. I feel like you're lacking direction, but that the fear is crippling. You have to kind of let go of this fear of needing to know of what's coming next, because you're not really going to know what's coming next because you haven't created it yet. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting on this spot of what way do I go? What way do I go? Honestly, I feel like whatever it is that you do that you're going to do for work is not going to be an active type of career. It's maybe going to be working from home. But gosh, I didn't screenshot what her question was, but what I'm feeling is that this could be even to like disability. That maybe there's something going on there. Let's see what the next card has to say, and maybe that will clarify for us. And that is the Six of Swords, and that is past burden, caution, unknown future. So these cards have no resolution to them. These are all telling us the same thing. And the reason why I feel that they're telling us the same thing is to show you how much of a problem it is, and to show that this is kind of consuming things. And if you, let's pull one more card. Oh, there we go. We had one fly out. This is the Knight of Wands. So let's look in our little pink
Finally
book.
not a sword.
I know. Jeez. They got their point across, though. Knight of Wands. Where are you, Wands? That's the fun part about these little books. And they're all like in different order. So I have a hard time remembering which book comes in what order. Okay, so there's Swords and Cups. There's Wands. Okay, Knight of Wands. Adventurous, trailblazer, determined. Okay, so that's a happy ending there. That tells me something ultimately in the end is coming. Trailblazer and determined, adventurous. This is really interesting, actually. What I'm feeling from this is that I don't know that you're going to be going back to like a regular job. I don't feel a regular job. When they say adventurous here, I actually see outdoors. I see not like you're going to be an adventurer or anything like
not
going
literally
out.
a
Not
trailblazer.
literally. Right. Not literally a trailblazer. But something different, some kind of adventure. Yeah.
Maybe it's just a new path.
There you go. See, you got it.
It's something different than what
That's why
you were doing if you're not employed right now. So you got this overwhelming sense of insecurity because maybe you are unemployed. You're debating on whether to play it safe and go back to what you've known.
Right.
Or challenging yourself potentially to go blaze a new trail and be adventurous with a new path.
That's I think you're right there, because I kept seeing like this hiking trail, and I was like, but I know she's not, like, I don't physically see her out on that. And so that makes sense. It's
more of a metaphor.
It's more of a metaphor. Absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Actually, let us know, because, like you've seen, I'm not a tarot reader. I'm reading this out of a book, but I'm using my intuition as well. And you just use yours very well to tell her what was going on. So that's kind of how it works. An actual tarot reader will do a whole spread for you. They will get everything that they need to know out of the cards, and use their intuition as well. But if you haven't had an actual real tarot reading, I would suggest it. Yeah. I just wanted to do show a little bit about how this works, and then use my intuition a little bit to kind of help people. But so Melissa, I didn't screenshot it. So let me see really quick. I want to see if there's anything else that I pick up for Melissa before we end our episode. What I'm hearing is it's going to be okay. Stop stressing yourself about money. Stop stressing over the little things that you have absolutely no control over, because it's going to be okay in the end. You're being taught some lessons right now, and that they're hard lessons. And I think it even said that on one of those cards. Yeah. These are hard lessons to learn, but we all have to face certain things in our life. Mm-hmm. And until we actually face them and change them, they keep coming back to us in the same way. Right. So once you change this, I feel like it's a bad relationship with money too. Once you change these kinds of ways of looking at things, stop letting your fear control you, stop obsessing, I feel like things are going to get better. And
I don't know if COVID had anything to do with your situation with your employment. I heard that. Yeah, I just heard COVID. Not sure. And we've talked about this before, that this shook a lot of people's foundation. Oh, yeah, it did. Rocked a lot of boats. Yeah. But it also created a lot of silver linings for people that they didn't see were there before. So keep that in mind if that's part of what's happening here, that you feel like the rug got pulled out from under your feet. That's just a perception. It is. And, a lot of our newer listeners have found us during COVID, and I find that really cool. It's like the universe said, you need to listen to them, because they'll show you that the things that are happening in your life now during such a crazy
time of life are actually going to boost you forward. Because even the people that have lost their jobs from COVID, there's a reason. I lost my job, my main job, pet sitting. If I wouldn't have had this to fall back on, we would have been screwed.
Right.
But I did. I had this to fall back on. But I lost my career in pet sitting overnight. Everybody, all of my daily clients, they didn't need me anymore.
Yep.
Nobody was traveling. So it's what you take from it. I could have gone into a deep depression after that, but I didn't. I decided, okay, well, here it is. I wanted a way out, and now I have a way out. I knew it was coming, but you know what I mean? There's always a reason why these things are happening. And so you have to look at the deeper meaning of things. And like, there's a lot of people that are like, why me? Why me? Well, because you're here to learn. Because you need to change these things and learn the lesson so that you can be a more whole soul, is I guess the way of looking at it. We're not here to sit around and do nothing.
Right. That's so true. I love that you said that, because I feel like sometimes we wake up with that attitude of like, God, what today?
Yes.
What do I got?
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? They're not looking at us like down on us
Right.
when we wake up like that. Is there a level of disappointment because they know greater than we know that, you guys, you've been here before.
Yeah.
You told us you want to come back because you got stuff to learn.
Yeah.
And now you're waking up saying you don't want to do it.
Right.
Okay.
Isn't that
so
the truth?
Don't you see? All you're doing is prolonging your mission.
Right.
Even longer.
It's true.
It doesn't mean don't take some time to throw a pity party once in a while and be in a bad mood. Don't take it out on people if you can help it.
Yeah.
But if you need to do that, do that.
Yes.
But you're here because you chose to be here, and there's something you have to learn that we all have to learn.
Yes.
I can relate to what you said as far as COVID. It's affected half of my career because I'm a musician.
Yeah.
I was ready to go out
Yeah.
with our band and perform what we've been working on. Yeah. So
COVID had different ideas.
COVID had different ideas. It shut that down.
Yep.
But what it told me is no. You guys know how to play. You stand in a room once a week, if not twice a week, doing it together.
Yep.
Do you really need to prove that right this second?
Yep.
No. What you need is something that people can listen to, so when they come to your show,
Yes.
they could sing along.
That's right.
They could know what the words are. They can already be familiar with what's going on.
Yep.
Not that I don't want to be a surprise, because that's cool too. But see, I took that perception of being shut down as, no, this is a way for me to draw my attention to something that's more important
Yes.
for the moment.
Absolutely. And a lot of people would have taken that, like they wanted to go out and perform, and then COVID coming as the end.
Right.
Well, that's it. Now what am I supposed to do? Well, you knew what you were supposed to do because we connected and we were told. Mm-hmm. Well, now you're supposed to record. You were always supposed to record before going out and performing live.
Right.
But, and we're not saying COVID came along so that would happen to him, or that I would, my pet sitting business, I would retire from pet sitting. It happened so that mass people could be pushed into doing what they want to do with their life.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can take it for what you want, or you can leave it. But that's what it's here for. Mm-hmm. And if you're supposed to learn a lesson from this and you don't, like with anything in life, mm-hmm. it will come back to you. So you have to change if you want things to change.
Yeah.
If you do the same thing day after day and nothing changes, well, that's why, because you're not changing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, it was still an obstacle in my movie.
Yeah.
But it's there in everybody's movie.
Yes.
You determine what it does as far as how your plot goes.
That's right.
You have that control.
Yes.
As much as we may not want to believe that, or we'd rather just lie down and quit, you still have the control to do that too.
Yep, absolutely.
Or you can stand up and say, I'm not done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
Is that we use these tools such as the tarot, and the intuition and connection to go, there's nothing wrong with getting a little help from the other side.
Yes.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
No, not at all.
We're not drinking goat's blood and sacrificing children on an altar.
Nope.
We don't do that.
No.
We treat people with love and respect, and we use these things as tools because we want the most out of this life.
Absolutely. Yep.
The ordinary is just too ordinary for me now. And there's so much more amazing magic happening. Not black magic.
Yeah.
Universal,
real
universal magic filled with love and compassion and guidance and direction and hope. And there's enough success in all of this for all of us.
Yes, there is.
It's not somebody's getting my share and I got to sit over here and be pouty in the corner.
Yeah, that's very important to point out.
That's not the case.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like gold in Fort Knox that you have to have a certain amount to back the money in circulation. It has nothing like that to do with this situation. There is enough.
Yes.
Because we create it.
Yep.
We create that energy. Yep. We create the things we want to share with people, to sell to people, to move people, evoke things out of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it takes time to create that.
Yes, it does.
Not only the energy, but the actual thing you want to do.
Right. Absolutely.
But you can.
You absolutely can. That's what they want us to do.
These types of tools can help you to let you know, are you wasting your time?
Right.
Or are you actually on the right track?
The tarot, it has been a great tool for us in our journey, because sometimes I don't know if I'm getting the right messages.
Yeah.
And it's a good way for me to double check. And, when we get insecure about that things are on the right track, that's one of the first things that we go to is, well, let's just pull some cards and see what it has to say, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're getting advice. We're getting help. It's like having a life coach and, they just using cards to help get their point across.
Yeah, or it's like going and talking to your therapist once a week.
Yes.
You don't think a therapist goes and talks to a therapist?
That's right.
Come on, we're all, we're all infallible.
Yeah.
That's just how we are.
For real.
That was cool, though. Thank you.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
we went off on our chatter. See, this is what we do. This is why it's Philosophy Chatter, because we went from one subject and we took it. But it's good. When those things happen, I absolutely believe that there's a reason for them. That message that you were getting about the COVID, I'm not sure if Melissa will relate to that, but somebody will. That message was for somebody. If it wasn't for her, it was for others. These messages come through us, and we don't always know who they're intended for, but you guys know.
Yeah.
If there's a message, if something resonates with you and you're like, oh my gosh, they're talking about exactly what I've been feeling, well, then it's validation for you.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I guess I should stop talking now since we're like almost 15 minutes over time.
Oh, we're going to get fired by the executives.
Fired, right? You're fired. Hey, Jones, you're fired. Now you have to fire me.
Yeah, now you're fired. All right. Well, then would any listener like to run the board? And chatter.
Yeah. Then it just becomes spiritual philosophy chatter with nobody.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Very fun. We hope you guys got something out of it. And thanks for the participation, all you listeners and friends out there. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we do.
It was
More
cool.
than you know. So.
Well, before we say goodbye, you want to share your info really fast?
Yes. You can find everything on my website, SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. If you would like to set up an appointment for a reading, I've been getting a lot of requests off of the website. There is a place to request, to reach out to me. I don't have a place for you to set your own appointment, though. So just send me an email, either through there or through my email, and we'll get it set up for you.
Cool.
Yeah. And then you, sir.
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram and Facebook, and for the band, gypsybrown.com for the web, at Gypsy Brown Music for Instagram, and at Gypsy Brown Band for Facebook. That's it for me.
Yay.
Well, we hope everybody got something out of it again.
That we do.
I did. It's always fun to watch you do your thing.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like to do it.
And we hope everybody has a great week.
That we do.
Until next week, peace and love.